Good morning, folks. We're going to start up in a few moments. Just going to keep on welcoming and accepting everybody into the Zoom from the morning keynote. Just hang tight. So again, good morning, everyone. Just another moment or so, we'll get started. I'm going to share a link in the chat with you, which will give you access to all the resources that come along with this next 90-minute presentation. Promise it'll be fun and engaging. Hello, Jackie.
Good morning, Mark.
Jackie, I know there was an issue with the pro tracks with my particular sessions. I don't know exactly how many we're expecting. Since
You had anywhere from like 30 to 40 folks,
okay,
so you're at 35 now.
I'm
So
right about
whenever
that.
you're ready.
Cool. Yeah. All right. So I think we're going to begin, and just as just a matter of practice, I'm putting once again in the chat for everybody the link to a complimentary document to the presentation today, which will give you access to all of the things I'm going to be talking about today. So you don't have to worry about taking a snapshot. What did Mark just say? You're gonna have access to all of it by the end of this presentation or soon thereafter. So I'm going to begin by first saying I want to thank DIIT for inviting me to do this presentation today. My name is Mark Erlenwein, and I am the proud principal and alumnus of Staten Island Technical High School. And I will be enabling. Yeah, here we go. Sorry, just got a request here. And yes, so just so you know, we are recording. So I am Mark Erlenwein. I'm the proud principal and alumnus of Staten Island Technical High School. It's my 27th year in the New York City public school system. And I'm really, really proud to be an educator and a leader in this incredible city. So just a little friendly hi. This is virtual, so I try to make it a little bit interesting. So I do want to say hi. I do want to say, how are you? And what's up, folks? What's up? So this is going to be a little bit of a magical presentation today because AI is kind of magical. And you're joining us today. I know we have principals on this Zoom. We have assistant principals. Maybe we have some educator admins and such. Maybe some even retirees who are out there in the wild with us, helping support us as we're trying to figure out this ever-growing, ever-changing, hyper-changing system. So thank you for choosing to spend some time with me this morning. Over the next 90 minutes, I will be taking you through a deeper version of a presentation I'm actually going to be doing in Vegas this weekend. The American Federation of School Administrators are having their centennial conference in Vegas at the Sahara this weekend. I only get 45 minutes for that presentation, so you guys get to see the 90-minute version of this. So I'm going to be going deeper into many of the topics I'm talking about. And I guess if you could break this down into segments, there's 3 segments. And at the end of each segment, we're going to pause because I want to hear some of your stories and championship moments and give an opportunity for us to ask questions and dive deeper into some of the things I'm going to be talking about. So now the really interesting thing about all of this, especially when it comes to AI, I'm sorry, Jackie, it's me. This has happened before, folks. I apologize. So whenever I tend to do these AI presentations, the presentation becomes sentient, and the presentation is projecting right now because we're all connected. It's kind of sensing that some of you on this call, there's some fears in the room or on the actual Zoom, I should say, that this Terminator scenario is gonna play out. You've seen the movie. You've seen the movie. You know what the prediction is. In the movie, the prediction is that the machines are going to take over, and the spoiler is that at the end of the movie, that's not quite what happens. But after all the different sequels that have come out over the years, we know that this is a topic we keep on revisiting. And in our lives right now, this is something that is really starting to come to fruition. I want you, by the end of this, to look at AI a little bit differently. So I'm going to reach into my presentation for a second, and I'm going to take the eye away from my Terminator exoskeleton mask. And I realize and I understand how hot of a topic this whole AI thing is. I get it. I absolutely get it. It is a very, very hot topic. Literally, it's a hot, hot topic. But it's something that just comes a little bit of time and getting to know how to handle it. Okay. Just have to learn how to handle it. And in a sense, AI is kind of like magic. And I get it. AI has its ups and its downs. It's in our heads. It's kind of everywhere, right? It's kind of everywhere, and at the same time, nowhere at all. But what I want you to kind of walk away with today, in terms of thinking about AI, while we have these utopian and dystopian views of how some things might turn out, I think the key to be is not afraid. Don't be afraid of this prediction of this Terminator sequence, because the best way to stop the prediction from becoming a spoiler is to spoil and disrupt the prediction. Okay, that's what I truly believe as a school leader. And to kind of give you a sense of what that might look like and some of the things you might think of doing, I'm going to take you through first some of my leadership workflows and to kind of get a sense of what does a day in the life of Mark Erlenwein look like when it comes to using AI. So now, yes, I'm going to show you some tools here and there. There's too many of them to go into, but I want to really just exemplify how maybe to use some of them and to consider how you use them if you're not using them already. So here is my go-to that I like to use, ChatGPT. Oh, darn it. So this, yeah. Let me just fix that. There we go. Sorry about that. ChatGPT, the presentation is going to be somewhat Freudian at times. ChatGPT is my go-to presentation. And I know what maybe you've been thinking. If you haven't seen this yet, yes, this is the software that's blowing everybody's mind and driving everybody nuts. And when I did get the opportunity to meet some of the people at OpenAI ChatGPT, I was kind of honest, a little brutally honest, and saying this is probably the most unsexiest software that's ever been created. It's a very, very basic platform. It's free to use for the most part, and it does some things well, unpaid. But once you pay for it, it does things better for you, obviously. But what it really does well, it has the capability of understanding what it can see, what it can hear, and what it can read. So as you feed it information in different formats, it's good at understanding what it's being fed, but it's better at understanding what it's told to do. And that's kind of our thing. As school leaders, we tell people what to do. We're pretty good at doing that. So if you haven't dabbled in this yet, I recommend spend the 20 bucks because it reacts well after you've given it a little bit of money. And this is the desktop version. And then, of course, there is the app version, which looks like this. I use mine on my iPhone. And believe it or not, my 7-minute journey to work, I live 7 minutes. Some of you maybe 40 minutes, an hour. You know what your commute is. But I start my day each day with a conversation with ChatGPT to start getting some work done. So what does that look like? Let's take a little peek into my ride to work. Hey, ChatGPT, how are you doing today?
Hey there, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you? How's your day going so far?
Doing great. I'm going to need some help on a couple of projects before I get to school this morning on the ride in.
That sounds good. I'm here to help you with whatever you need. So just let me know what projects you want to tackle first and we can jump right in.
All right, great. So I need you to create a school bell schedule in a chart format for 9 periods starting at 8 a.m. and ending at 2:47 p.m. Period 3 needs to be 60 minutes long. Figure out the duration of all the other periods based upon your best judgment, keeping as consistent as possible. There should also be 4 minutes of passing time in between each period as separate time intervals before each new period begins. Please add the starting time, ending time, passing time, and a period duration time column to the chart. And use traditional time format, not 24.
Let's break it down. Since we have 9 periods total and period day is 60 minutes, I'll make the other periods as consistent as possible. I'll factor in the 4-minute passing times too. Let me do a quick calculation and I'll get that chart ready for you in just a sec.
All right, great ChatGPT. Now for the next task. I'm preparing for an opening speech for my first faculty meeting of the new school year. Faculty have returned from the summer break, and I'm aiming to be inspiring and motivational. Find and make a list of 5 video links with descriptions of the video, 2 to 5 minutes long, of Simon Sinek or other motivational speakers focusing on student resilience and operationalizing failure and multiple opportunities. Got it?
For your opening speech, consider Simon Sinek's How to Embrace Failure and Learn from It. It emphasizes resilience and learning from setbacks. Additionally, Denzel Washington's Embracing Failure and Cultivating Resilience offers motivational insights on overcoming challenges.
Thank you, ChatGPT.
You're welcome. If you need anything else or have any other tasks, just let me know. I'm always here to help. Good luck with your speech prep.
So pretty cool, right? It's always enamored by the best part is, after I had this conversation on the way to work,
Hey,
sitting there at my desk waiting for me is all the things I told ChatGPT to do in my 7-minute drive to work. So here's that prompt again. For example, I needed that special bell schedule with a 60-minute third period. When I download that, this is what it looks like. So ChatGPT nailed it. 8 a.m. start time, 2:47 p.m. end time. It figured out for me. I didn't have to do the math. 39-minute periods will work, 4-minute passing time, and there is my 60 minutes. If you're really good at math, this might take you a little less time. If you're not, this is going to take a while. It's going to take a chunk out of your day, or somebody's chunk out of the day. So just like that, we are saving time immediately, and I haven't even started my day yet before I even begun. Here's the other prompt. I needed some ideas, videos, 2 to 5 minutes long, Simon Sinek and others around operationalizing failure. Bam, done. Bulleted list, title, summary, link, all done for me. I can peruse through this and just get to the point and start creating my final speech really quickly. It even gave me some other options to choose from. There is Denzel Washington's speech to consider listening to as well. So just like that, folks, in my 7-minute drive, I nailed and knocked off 2 things off my list that it would have normally taken me maybe an hour or so to do. What does your drive look like? And just think of how much you can get done starting to use ChatGPT in a similar way. So now this is the way all of us start our day, hopefully. My representative principal. We start the day bright-eyed, smiling, our coffee ready to go and ready to get the ground rolling and meet the challenges that come our way. And on this particular given day, this was the challenge that came my way. So I had this opportunity. A very, very well-known author on Staten Island came to me. She's a big supporter of the arts. She spends a lot of money and writes about it. She's writing a new book called Meet a Maestro. And she's like, Mark, I'm coming to your school next week. Ross Jamie Collins from Switzerland is going to sit with your students. We're going to record them in your video, your TV studio. I said, no problem, Fran. We'll do that. An hour and a half long presentation, video recorded. I said, great. We could transcribe the whole thing so you have the actual interview in writing so you can write your book. I'll even take the pictures for you so you have the cover photos for the book when you go to print press. And how cool would it be if the actual maestro could work with our conductors class, which we have at Staten Island Tech? And she said, yes, 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 yes. I mean, why wouldn't she say yes to those offers? And she said, don't worry, the Staten Island Advance will come to cover it, and you'll be in the paper for this wonderful opportunity. You can't say no to an opportunity like this, and I didn't. And we got to do all this wonderful stuff until I got this email. Of course, after all that great stuff and great opportunities for our students, the Staten Island Advance didn't show up that day. And they said, we'll cover it, but you write the article. So luckily, I am an English rhetoric major. It's one of my 2 majors. I love to write. But the problem is I am a perfectionist. And normally this would have taken me an hour and a half of a labor of love of getting it right and putting it in the right context. That's okay because ChatGPT exists, and I knew all I had to do was take the video I recorded, upload it into ChatGPT, feed it, because ChatGPT, say that quickly, can see, it can hear, it can understand what it's watching. I gave it the transcript, and then I gave it a little bit of context. Write me an article based upon the who, what, when, where, how, and why, and make it ready for the Staten Island Advance newspaper. Lo and behold, seconds later, it wrote a beautiful article in my voice because it knows my voice. And I'll talk a little bit about that more a little bit later. It even picked out the best quotes from the video that made the most sense. I was so impressed by how well it chose things to say and the way it said it. And then lo and behold, 2 weeks later, the article was in the Staten Island Advance. So something that would have taken an hour and a half to 2 hours, because I tend to obsess over my writing, took mere minutes. And God knows we don't have time during the day as principals to also be journalists. So this was a huge win and an example of one way in which ChatGPT and AI is So, all those 4:59 on a Friday. Jared, Joe, Jack, and Coke are at the bar waiting for you to happen out. Right now. Now, we've all been there, right? This is the quintessential end of the day. I just want to get out of here. And here now I have to write another email that I must do. And in this particular example, I wasn't running the happy hour. It was my anniversary on this particular day. This is a real thing. This happened. So, and the long and short of it was that that my assistant principal needed me to ask the PTA if we could have them wire money or use their credit card to pay for a trip that just got all messed up at the last moment. So I didn't stress because I knew all I had to do was take my assistant principal's email, put it into ChatGPT, and just say, ChatGPT, take this email below and turn it into a new email asking the PTA for X, Y, and Z based upon what it says in my assistant principal's email. Just like that, seconds later, it was done. And it was appropriate. It said all the right things. And by the way, I've used this before. So it knows my language. It knows my style. It knows my humor. It knows the structure I like to use when I put together an email. So because of this, by 5:05, instead of going to happy hour, I was able to go home because, as we know, happy wife, happy life, and it was my anniversary. So I was able to actually get all the things that I had to do and then be there for my family, which part of the underlying tone and story arc of all of this is really recapturing a better quality of life by prioritizing and using artificial intelligence to work smarter versus harder. Let me give you another example. So, who is out to come? Not you. The worst part is you have to manipulate and do the analysis manually. Terrible. But not if you know how to use ChatGPT, because all I had to do was just upload and feed ChatGPT the PDF and tell it what I wanted it to do. All I had to do was just tell it to please take this data from the PDF and summarize it by the number of students taking the Regents exam, what percentage passed, what number passed, what percentage achieved mastery, what percentage also achieved mastery, and give it to me in a nice chart format, which it did within seconds. And even better, it offered me the opportunity to download it as a CSV or an XLS file, which I could then take and beautify into a spreadsheet chart format that I would share with my faculty and staff. So pretty cool, right? And once again, moments and time saved. Now, this next scenario, I think you'll all know all too well. All right, so the teacher observation report process. I don't think I have to belabor over what this means in all of our lives. But if you are not using artificial intelligence yet, yes, and RIP Ozzy, as I was working on this last night, was fine-tuning it, kind of horrified knowing that Ozzy Osbourne just performed one of his last concerts 2 weeks ago, and then this news came about. And I had already had this music in the actual presentation, so a little bittersweet. But on the brighter side of things, if you're not using ChatGPT or AI for your observation reports yet, I hope this will compel you to think about it. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So this is what a typical prompt looks like for me, okay? So remember, you have to be specific. You are an expert educational leader. You have an expertise in providing actionable feedback. You wouldn't say you're a lousy educational leader. So ChatGPT will react as you tell it to. We're telling it we're using the Danielson framework. I'm going to be uploading a lesson plan, low inference notes. By the way, your low inference notes could be typed, could be handwritten as long as your handwriting is legible. You also upload whatever resources the teacher gives you, as slide deck, PDF, worksheets. And you're telling it, these are the competencies I'm going to rate. You're going to rate it with numbers. You're going to use the attached low inference notes and add detailed commendations and recommendations and narratives for next steps. You're going to include the student evidence, the teacher evidence, and so forth. Not bad. And this is all it looks like. You literally upload the 3 documents in whatever format that they're in. And then after that, this is a little key portion of the trick to make this work. Your faculty know how you sound when you write your observation reports. They know your tone of voice, your style of writing, and such. So all you have to do to make the observation report more authentically yours in an AI platform is to upload sample observation reports and tell ChatGPT to update the feedback in my style of writing and language using a previous observation report. So it mimics your style and tone of writing. And I have to say, it does it quite well, which I'm going to show you in a moment. Now I'm going to level this up a little bit because we are using AI, and AI is capable of doing a lot of hard work, but very quickly. So I don't know about you, but when I do observation reports, I like my feedback to be very specific to the adult teacher that I'm providing this feedback to. So I had the pleasure, and some of you who maybe have attended Teachers College for any sort of professional development or maybe the Khan Fellowship along the way, you studied under Dr. Ellie Drago, who is the absolute genius and the queen of giving adult feedback in a very thoughtful manner. And she came up with these 4 different ways of categorizing the ways that adults like to receive feedback: instrumental, socializing, self-authoring, and self-transforming learners. And just to kind of give you an example, so like a socializing adult is other focused. There's very specific ways that they have expectations for trust, safety, and respect. So these adults feel safe and respected when their personhood and contributions are explicitly affirmed and valued by others. They will appreciate opportunities to strengthen interpersonal relationships and connections and to learn from expert colleagues and supervisors. What feels supportive when receiving feedback? Well, socializing teachers feel appreciated for efforts and contributions, receiving acknowledgments of personhood and validation of progress and hard work. Ways to support the growth of these teachers. Well, you invite them to leadership roles, you demonstrate ways to confirm, acknowledge, and accept others' beliefs, and you model disagreement without threat of relationships. So I give this survey to all my teachers every other year. I ask them, how do you want your feedback delivered to you? And this chart completely changes how I write feedback for my teachers. So what does this look like? And yes, I realize I just showed you a lot of prompts, So what I typically do at this point in ChatGPT, you can create your prompts and make a button out of them. So I have Dr. Ellie's 4 different ways of giving feedback. So self-transforming, authoring, instrumental, and socializing. And all I have to do is click on that button. And just to kind of show you behind the scenes how it's configured, so you don't have to keep on typing your prompts. You can save them. And then when you need to use this, you just click on the button and bam, you get right into getting the work done. And just to kind of give you a little bit more of an explanation, the instructions are put right into the GPT. I upload all the knowledge base documents. So there is the CAR document. That is the document I told ChatGPT to use to mimic my tone and voice. My district in District 31, Staten Island, has a very specific way they want observation reports done. So I have uploaded that document as a guide to make sure the formatting and certain specific details are included. And this is what the exact prompt looks like, folks. So you've seen the top one from the first example, but this is where it gets very personalized. The teacher that this observation report is being created for is considered a socializing adult who is other focused. These adults will feel safe and respected when their personhood and contributions are explicitly affirmed. Kind of get how this is flowing? When providing feedback, a favorable way to support the growth of this teacher is to blah, 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 blah. So putting all this information into there, this is the final result that comes out. So this is domain 1A, demonstrating knowledge of content and pedagogy. There it is. Yeah, this was a highly effective lesson, yes. Is it possible for it to rate a 3 or a 2 or a 1? Yes, it is. But here's the teacher evidence, here's the student evidence, some commendations, recommendations for next steps, which I can absolutely add to the final commendations and next steps section. And when we get to the actual overall commendations and next steps, it's written in the second person, but through the socializing adult lens. So as I proceed through the feedback here, you'll notice towards the end of the feedback, highlighted in yellow and printed in red, specific to the socializing adult. So now it's being very specific for what this particular teacher needs to hear, will respond best to in terms of feedback. So this is like a really powerful way of not only creating observation point reports in seconds, but really creating very, very detailed, specific, and individualized strategic observation reports in mere seconds. So I hope this kind of gives you an opportunity to think about this a little bit differently. And if you've been hesitant to kind of jump into that pool, I'm going to give you some resources so you can start playing around with this. So when you download this or access this slide deck, you will have access to a document that I've taken all of Dr. Ellie's resources and made one singular chart of it, which I use for all my teachers. And I've given you the 4 prompts based upon Dr. Ellie's work. All right. And a lot of this information is coming out in she asked me to write a chapter for her re-release of her book on this sort of stuff, kind of talking about how I did all this. But I encourage you to try it out and see what the results, the net results look like in terms of enhancing the observation reports that you're creating. So I want to pivot now for a moment. But before I pivot, I'm also including in this slide deck some resources for you in terms of how to write these prompts strategically. This is a skill set. It's called prompt engineering. The better you are at telling ChatGPT what to do, the more you'll get out of it, or the quicker you'll get what you want out of it. So AI for Education, which Moses turned me on to. Moses works very closely with them. They're absolutely brilliant. They have this incredible free prompt library, which you can access. They have administrative tools for leaders like us. And if you could take a look, like these 3 different areas in particular, developing workflows, professional development ideas, classroom observations, which are the examples I gave you today. And it literally gives you specific examples in terms of what the prompt should look like, right? So this is the first leg of our journey. And I'm just kind of curious if any of you would like to raise your hand or come off mute and to share one of your championship moments. Any of you out there have a story or something you'd like to share that just AI, ChatGPT, or some sort of tool just literally saved the day, and it's a must-hear anecdote that you can share with us? And Jackie will help me identify if there's any one of you who would like to share that story.
Moses. Oh,
Good morning, Mark.
Hey, good morning.
How are you? I'm at IS 24. One of my colleagues shared the program Your Way. And in the chat section, you could put your low inference notes for observation and ask it to tag it to the Danielson framework components. So that seemed very helpful, but I love the idea of the ChatGPT and would love to dive more into this one if it's possible. It definitely helped. It just took your low inference notes and it tagged it to each component of the Danielson framework.
And this app is called Your Way?
Your Way, WAI, Your Way.
Mark,
Jack-
just for some context, it's through one of our partners, Link. It's actually very similar to Magic School, almost the same, but we partner with them. They actually have a session here with us this week as well, but similar to Magic School. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we have licenses that we had, I think that IS 24 uses.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. That's a great one. We'll have to look into that. And thanks for those of you who are putting it into the chat for us. So Jackie, if you could help me out in putting those links in there too. Morgan, share with us, Morgan.
hey, thanks for your time and thanks for everything you've given us. One thing I used it for observations like you have. I've also used it as a way to support teachers with scaffolding for students because I'm a special ed AP. So definitely the different needs and also different levels of tiered reading for students. Because when sometimes you try to get readings at different levels, but it loses the content and the oomph to it. Using it to tier the level of reading for students has really helped. So you have different levels and everyone's still getting the same amount of information and the same type of details that's needed. for the next step in the guided instruction.
That's awesome. And is there a specific tool, Morgan, that you're using? Is there a platform, an app, or something?
I'm a big ChatGPT guy. I have Copilot, I have Gemini on my phone, all of them, but I tend to always rely on ChatGPT because it's the entire internet rather than a small piece of the internet to grab information from. I tried Magic School. I didn't really love it.
I hear you, and it's interesting you mentioned that, Morgan. I think there's two camps, right? There's the camp that loves their buttons and they want to see the button, and then there's a camp like some of us who are just really good at telling people what they need done and can convey that. I have surprisingly found that I am better at just talking to ChatGPT than typing. I can just get it done quicker. I didn't think I was going to be good at doing that because, like, can I get my thoughts out clearly and quick enough? Moses, what do you like to share?
Hey everyone. So someone who's doing great work with Your Way is Superintendent Gary Battleman. He has actually created a group of teachers that share out what they're using Your Way, and they're creating chatbots, but at different levels for different purposes. And so he's someone to follow for sure. He's actually going to have his team, and he has a great concept. He has a team of teachers that are going to share out on Mondays, virtual through Zoom, to his district to empower more teachers to collaborate. So I've just heard of Your Way. I can't wait to get started. And yes, it's IRMA approved. What I'll share, Mark, and everybody's sharing some great things. And yo, shout out to you for taking what you learned through the Con Fellows and implementing that. That's an awesome way of thinking. I had to do an observation, and I knew nothing about polynomials. And so I was able to actually help a first-year teacher create pods to go around to enhance student engagement, because he would only concentrate on the front and he would forget about the back. But because I didn't know mathematics to that level, because that's my license area, AI helped me to give amazing feedback on how to set up so that he could have a rotating station through pods. And then I ran it through my math AP and she was like, wow, that's awesome. So just to put it out there, not only does it help individuals who are not in that licensed area to be able to give further feedback, but also what I added in the chat is I have teachers put their lesson plan and measure it against the Danielson framework or any instructional practices like UDL to say, hey, does it meet the needs of this? And if not, where am I falling short? And make adjustments accordingly. So it can go both ways. So that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you, Moses. That's a really awesome and powerful suggestion and tip, because how many times are there where we're in the middle of an observation? That's just not our comfort zone or our area of knowledge, and kind of doesn't matter anymore. Like that you still can leverage the tool to provide a very content-specific piece of advice to teachers. That's great. Well, thank you, folks, for those of you for this first segment who share some of your own personal anecdotal experiences and opportunities in which you've used AI. This moment, I'd like to slow things down. I don't have my okay of flowers right now. Asking you how you feel. So after taking you through something, are we feeling some illusion? Process is emerging. Your favorite, what is it in the chat? Feeling right now. All right, so I don't know how many of you have heard me, but I think it cuts me off. There we go. I was curious to hear what you guys thought in the chat. Do you see this as a sense of collusion, plagiarism, or as a new process starting to formulate? And I just want to state that what I just showed you in ChatGPT, I I view this as a process emerging. None of those things that I asked ChatGPT to create is the final draft of anything. There's always some revision or processing that needs to take place to continue to humanize it a little bit more. But I leverage this idea and this question from a stance of, working smarter, not harder. If you've been doing this for 27 years, 15 years, 10 years, 5 years, I think at this point you know how to write an observation report. And if there's an assistant out there that can help you, so you can utilize that time and really kind of sharpen your sword again and slay the day in a different way versus wasting the day away on some of these mundane tasks that kind of hang us up. So I hope for this first segment, you take away a new perspective on this. All right, let's jump into some creativity and productivity tools that some of my go-tos along the way. So let's do a quick question, and you can use the chat to drop your numbers into the actual response. So which of these headshots is of the real Mark? Do you think it's number 1? Do you think it's number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5? You could just drop it right into the chat based upon what you think is the real Mark Erlenwein. And none is an acceptable answer. Yes, none is an acceptable answer. So you're saying, some of you are saying 4, 1, 3, 2. I'm going to change up number 4 to be my keynote speech headshot. All right. Some of you, I think, guess where this is going because none of them are really me. And anyone who's gotten to know me over the years knows that I'm not very fond of wearing a suit all the time, okay, unless I really have to. And I use Mayo Studio to create these pictures of me. Mayo Studio, you can feed it photos of yourself or just about anybody for that matter with some reason, and ask it to recreate the photo in whatever format that you needed. So if thinking about what it might cost you to get a professional headshot done, you don't have to do that. You can use software like this just to create a different version of yourself for headshots and presentations like this. It's so convincing that when I turned 50 years old last year, my wife posted this onto Facebook to celebrate my birthday. And when I got home, I was like, hon, that's not really me. She was dumbfounded. She really thought that that was me. But it was just like a cute little anecdote to share about how convincing it is. Now, beyond just saving a little bit of money on professional headshots, like what are some of the other really thoughtful ways that this technology can change the way you lead a school? Let me give you an example. So I am an alumnus of Staten Island Tech, and Deborah Griggs was my biology teacher back in the late 80s when I was a student at Tech. She became my colleague when I became a chemistry teacher initially at Staten Island Tech. And we wanted to surprise her last March for Women's History Month in naming the Living Environment Lab after Debbie. She had no idea that we were going to do this, make a nice plaque. But unfortunately, there was only about 5 pictures that existed of Debbie in all of the yearbooks. We kind of recycled some of those photos year after year. So I used this app, Mayo Studio, to process and create some new composites of different poses for Debbie, and then ultimately was able to get it to look like this. I even had to call up some of Debbie's friends without telling them why I called them, texted them a photo of this person and said, "Who is it?" And they all knew it was Debbie. So I knew we got the essence of Debbie. And then here was that day where Debbie came to school, and we surprised her with the plaque, and we named the science lab after her, and we gave her a plaque to come home. And what a beautiful, wonderful way it was to give her her flowers in a special, unique way. This is Debbie at her 75th birthday party, which she invited me to. It was just really a nice way to celebrate somebody using technology in a way that you might not have thought of using it, right? So you can do some of these things using Canva. I don't know if you realize it, Canva has artificial intelligence built right into it. Now, I'm being a little funny here with the actual title, but AI is built into the Canva platform. So let me give you an example. When like today, like you're creating a headshot photo and you need to take that photo and put it in a circular frame, but the photo is missing chopping off top of the head. So in Canva, you could click on the photo and go to magic stretch or expand, excuse me. And you could stretch the photo, and the AI in Canva will automatically figure out how to fill in the rest of the photo, just like that. And there you go. It automatically fills in the rest of the photo. Now you can pull that photo down into the frame, and now you have this wonderful looking headshot. Yeah, this is free out of the box. All of you as educators have access to Canva. Let me give you another example. How about that photo that you need that is not quite what you need? So you take the photo, you put it into Canva, and you say expand it to give more of a sense of what this park could have possibly looked like. Bam, there you go. So now it's expanded the park. And what I want to do next is I would like to put some chipmunks playing in front of the bench. So I go to Edit, Magic, Edit, and I color in front of the bench the area where I want these chipmunks. And then I type into the prompt, chipmunks playing on the ground, and it gives me 4 options to pick from. They kind of look like skunks, but close enough. And interesting how the shadow even drops perfectly. So I like the one with the 2 chipmunks. So next I want to take that unfinished road, and I want to put some children there riding a bike. So I color that in. I go to Magic Edit. I said children riding bikes, and I get 4 options to choose from. And I think I like the one with the 2 children there. And that looks like an authentic picture that really could have been taken. So there's the before and there's the after. And that's done in a matter of seconds, folks. So it's just amazing how you can create something from nothing using AI as a creative tool. So I'm curious to hear from you. Are there any creative AI tools that you're using that's your fave that you would like to share? And once again, if you'd like to come off mic or drop it into the chat, we can certainly do that. Anyone have a go-to creative tool that's just been kind of life-changing or inspiring to use? I see Thomas has put Adobe Express. Yeah, Adobe. If you're familiar and comfortable in the Adobe environment, its adaptive AI capabilities, especially in Photoshop and Illustrator and such, is just pretty powerful. And of course, Adobe is the industry standard. If you have media programs or CTE programs in your schools like we do, Adobe is the go-to. Like if you're going to train students on an industry level standard piece of software, that would be the one that you want to use. Claude AI, CapCut, yep. Even ChatGPT has an image creator tool built into it where you tell it what you want and it basically creates it. But if you work in the Canva ecosystem like a lot of us do, Google Flow is another great one, very true. What I like about Canva is like if you use Canva for a lot of your media production workflows and such like that, it's nice to have that kind of all built in. And it's free, so you're not paying necessarily too much extra. Lisa is mentioning Notebook LM and Google Viz. Yeah, if you haven't played with Notebook LM yet, and now that it's available for all of us in the New York City public school system, it is absolutely worth the time and the experience. It's like having a team working with you in just kind of helping you frame and organize your research thoughts. And when you're creating things like this and you just need to organize the process, beautiful way of doing that. So thank you for those of you who shared some of your feedback and favorite tools. Now, I want to share with you some ways in which I use AI to communicate. And I do have to pardon myself because I'd like to take a quick break and drink a little bit of water, but I'm going to have Mark just continue the presentation.
Good day, fellow Adminomaniacs. I am virtual AI Erlenwein, and I'm going to give biological Erlenwein a momentary break. He's older now and requires frequent naps and me time. Artificial me, on the other hand, can go on and on all day long. I help Mr. Erlenwein create video messaging for our school community in multiple languages, being I have the ability to speak any language that is typed into my teleprompter. For example, puedo hablar español, 我会说中文. Sti tayo lati de hablar bien. 我会说普通话. Ja mogu govorit po ruski. Posso parlare italiano. Imporo na mileso ellenica. I can be infinitely multilingual and help you and your admin team communicate your school messaging more effectively. Mr. Erlenwein uses a platform called Synthesia, which allows him to create video-based slideshows where he himself can become a playable character. Biological Erlenwein will show you another innovative use for this technology for students with special abilities. Thanks for watching. Back to you, Bio Erlenwein. Wake up.
Thank you, Mark. So this is Synthesia. If you haven't
Dave.
tinkered with it before, so Synthesia, what it essentially does, it takes a two-minute video of you that you record, and it's a script that you have to read because it's very specific. Like, this is Mark Erlenwein, and now I'm smiling because I am enthusiastic about the things I'm about to talk about. And what it does is learning your mannerisms, it's learning your voice, it's learning how to replicate the lip movements for all the different words that you might say. And I use this at Staten Island Tech specifically to communicate with my families in their home languages. And essentially, as I said in the actual video, you become a playable character in a very simple to use slide creation video software. And literally, you type what you want it to say, and you can type or copy and paste into here exactly whatever language you want it to say. So you basically can use Google ChatGPT or Google Translate to translate in English what you want to say in a different language. I use simplified Chinese pretty often, and you copy and paste that right into the actual slide deck. And then when you hit generate, about 10 minutes later, you get a video that basically depicts you speaking what you asked it to speak, and if it's in another language, it's in another language. I will admit, in the beginning of the school year, I got lots of kudos and thank yous from my families for learning to speak all these new languages. And I was very transparent with them. I'm saying, listen, it's not me. I'm using technology for you to feel more comfortable. I want to meet you where you're at. I want to speak to you in your home language. And I have to say, doing this has completely transformed the way in which my families engage with me. I have the most engagement from families I never had engagement from because I've took the time and the energy to be able to communicate in their home language. And folks, this is effortless. This is not hard to do. And the reciprocal and benefit and the feedback from the families has been exponentially wonderful, that it is worth doing this. So I encourage you to, I know it is creepy. It definitely, it's got a weirdness vibe to it. But if you're transparent to your families and your students that you're doing this, I think in a sense, what we're really doing is modeling the proper utilization of these technologies, which is really important because we see some of this go sideways at times with certain videos that we see on the internet. So I want to show you something really cool. So last year in Staten Island Tech, we adopted a District 75 program, PS37, School for the Art, David Marcus School for the Arts. These 8 young men who are now part of the Staten Island Technical High School community. And there's a full inclusion program. So they take classes with our Staten Island Tech students, and we help them create a vocational coffee shop. It's called Barks and Beaks Coffee with a Purpose. And they serve coffee and breakfast to our faculty and staff Wednesday, Thursday, Friday each week. And as you know, running a coffee shop, there's specific types of things that one has to say in order to work and interact with the various customers that come into the coffee shop. So, and as you must realize, I'm sure every student has a different set of strengths and weaknesses. And with our boys, certain boys were better at communicating than others. So we decided, let's create virtual avatars of the boys and create modeling slide decks that's going to show them exactly what to say, give them a target for how to say it, rather than giving them these video modeling examples of people that aren't them. What's more powerful than giving a student like young Matthew, who I'm about to show you, a video that he can use at home at night to train and practice saying certain things more effectively, but it's him saying them. Let's take a look at that.
In this video, Matt and I will show you how to take someone's order when working as a cashier.
This will be used as a training tool for our school-based coffee shop, as well as other worksite opportunities. Welcome to Barks and Beaks. Can I please have a name for the order?
Miss Erica.
What can we get for you this morning?
1 cold brew coffee, please.
Would you like any milk?
Half and half.
Would you like a flavored syrup to go with your coffee?
I'll have vanilla.
Would you like any food added to your order?
I'll have a waffle as well.
Your total today will be $5. Please proceed to the counter for your order. Thanks for flying by.
So that's Matt, one of our 8 young men, and that is Erica, our speech pathologist. So I trained Erica on how to use Synthesia to create these modeling videos. And Matt has just been absolutely transformed into the most effective speaker from September to June. Like, he's just a completely different person. And what Matt has been able to do now is just have this really great sense of confidence, because he's used these training videos that we created for him to bring it home with him tonight, to watch with his family, to practice. And he hears and he sees himself doing this. And it's a target. I don't want to confuse the message here that we're trying to create these perfect representations. No, it's a tool and a target for the student to potentially and possibly achieve. So this has been like truly transformative in terms of what is possible for using this as an instructional tool. Okay, moving along. Principal as the storyteller in chief. Many of you wish maybe in our minds that we could have our own podcast or do video blogs. And as you know, if you don't tell your story, somebody else will. And it's harder to communicate with children who are really, really just kind of drawn more toward viral videos. So how can you make a viral video? So I'm going to show you how. So I like to use Opus Pro. I use this pretty often. And what's awesome about Opus Pro is all you have to be able to do is know how to take a regular video using your phone. Now, some of you take videos landscape, some of you take videos portrait. It doesn't matter. What Opus Pro is really good at doing is you upload the video to Opus Pro, and it automatically, and I should say automagically, captions the actual video. It reframes the video. If there are 3 people in the video and one person is speaking, it zooms in on the one person who's speaking, so you know where the focus of the conversation is. Not only that, it puts the captions of what they're exactly saying on the screen in any language you want, mapped to the exact timing of the language. And if you wanted to edit what was being said, it's AI. So all you have to do is delete the words in the background of the software. And so you don't have to know video editing. If you know how to use a word processor and can delete words, it edits the video by you deleting the words you don't want stated. If there's a lot of ums, a lot of huns, a lot of silence, you hit a button, it removes all the silence. If you want something creative, if you're talking about a kid building and creating, you can click the Add Automatic B-roll feature, which automatically puts pictures or videos of kids being creative while you're talking about kids being creative. So it creates that sense of a viral video. And all I had to do to use this as a more regularly occurring creative tool, I bought the 4 lavalier wireless mic set for my iPhone. And this is plug and play, folks. You don't have to be a technological genius to use this. I plug it in, it works. I mic up the students, I hit record. So last summer, I did this with 4 students. I hooked them up with the microphones and I said, talk about life without cell phones in the school for 7 minutes. And this is what happened after I uploaded the footage. I'll give you a small snapshot of it.
Okay, so for me personally, especially like last year, I did not share lunch with like my closest group of friends, but they all had it together, as you know. And because of that, it was always like I didn't necessarily feel left out, but it wasn't like fun when it was like I don't know what they do in a day and I didn't see most of them until after school for me personally, because I feel like a lot of social life goes on not like on social media, but just within texting and like with what your friends are, what's happening with them, the conversations you can have with them via text that you can't have in person because you have different schedules.
Yeah. Sorry. I was gonna say, I think it would definitely really be interesting to not be able to communicate with our phones, because I think.
You get it? You see it? I mean, no creativity tools or skills necessary whatsoever for video editing to do this. The software does all of the work for you and creates what I consider a viral looking video. So I encourage you to check this out, think about it, take a look at it, especially if you're looking for ways to meet your children where they are, which unfortunately a lot of it is spent on social media. And I know that's where I get the biggest bang for my buck in terms of putting out information about the school. It's definitely something worth looking into. Any of you have a favorite AI communication tool that maybe I haven't talked about yet that you want to come off mute or put into the chat while we're in this sharing mode? We have about a half hour left of this presentation, and we're about to go into the final leg of our journey this morning. Yeah, I don't see anybody burning to share. Google Flow, okay. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. If you would like to share anything and put it into the actual chat, please go right ahead. I'm just going to kind of zip through this really quickly. There was one particular thing I did want to share with you. So from teaching tools, as school leaders, we are tasked with being inspiring and providing resources for our teachers. As the instructional leader, I often will showcase certain tools that I think are just kind of cutting edge. So Magic School, Conmigo, and OpenAI, I think of three simple go-tos. Magic School, if you've played with it, Moses had alluded to it before. It's very button-oriented. The teachers love it because it's all there already for them. It's kind of straightforward and intuitive. There is a way of connecting students to this platform. But in all honesty, just be very wary and careful about what you're going to spend money on, because all Magic School is doing, Magic School is creating the prompt for you. And in the background, unbeknownst to you, it's going into ChatGPT, finding the answer to the question that you're asking, and then bringing it back into Magic School. So the true brains of Magic School is really ChatGPT. So this is really just like what's called like a wrapper program. And when I say wrapper, I mean it's just very, very surface level. You click the button, you answer a couple of questions. Like if I'm trying to do a professional email in Magic School, it's going to ask me a couple of questions. What's the topic? Who's the audience? How long? Those sorts of things. And then all it does, it takes your responses quietly in the background, goes to ChatGPT, enters it, and then brings the information back to you. So if you don't like ChatGPT and you want to trick your faculty and staff into using it, you could use Magic School because that's what's happening in the background. Conmigo is very similar. You'll notice big question as to who kind of copied off of who. They have a very similar format in terms of a button protocol or interface. But the power of Conmigo is if you already use it and have your classes in there, you're leveraging some pretty powerful tools if you haven't tried it yet. And what I mean by that is, I think Sal Khan speaks of it best. I want to highlight the focus of using AI to teach literacy skills, reading and writing. And then I'm going to demonstrate it for you in a moment. But you should hear from Sal Khan himself.
But this is to directly use AI, use generative AI, to not undermine English and language arts, but to actually enhance it in ways that we couldn't have even conceived of even a year ago. This is reading comprehension. The students reading Steve Jobs' famous speech at Stanford. And then as they get to certain points, they can click on that little question, and the AI will then Socratically, almost like an oral exam, ask the student about things. And the AI can highlight parts of the passage. Why did the author use that word? What was their intent? Does it back up their argument? They can start to do stuff that, once again, we never had the capability to give everyone a tutor, everyone a writing coach to actually dig into reading at this level. And you could go on the other side of it. We have a whole workflows that helps them write, helps them be a writing coach, draw an outline. But once a student actually constructs a draft, and this is where they're constructing a draft, they can ask for feedback, once again, as you would expect from a good writing coach. In this case, the student will say, let's say, does my evidence support my claim? And then the AI not only is able to give feedback, but it's able to highlight certain parts of the passage and says, you know, in this passage, this doesn't quite support your claim, but once again, Socratically says, can you tell us why? So it's pulling the student, it's making them a better writer, giving them far more feedback than they've ever been able to actually get before. And we think this is going to
So you just heard from Sal Khan himself. So the writing coach in Conmigo, I think, is one of the most revolutionary tools and there's a lot of programs out there that allege to help with the writing process. But what I've loved the most about this is it truly allows the teacher to pivot and prioritize their time with the students who need the help the most. So imagine using the writing coach in a classroom setting, which we do here at Staten Island Tech, and you have let's say it's an essay that has to be written. Conmigo will force the student through the draft process. And when I say force, I mean take the student gradually through the drafting process. If a student tries to grab text from anywhere other than their brain, it will know. And it calls the student out, and it tells the teacher that the student is probably not using authentic resources like their brain. But I have to say, the Conmigo coach that coaches the student through making sure their first to two sentences in the paragraph and the following content in the paragraph is supported correctly. It's a really good coach at helping students write more effectively, and it enables the teacher to have a heads-up view of the whole entire process that is ensuing in front of them. Let me show you what I mean.
I'm sitting here, I can see every step of the process. So this young man, Brandon, is at the drafting phase, but he's been flagged as questionable because it tells me how long he's worked on every step. It tells me he pasted 19 words from an unknown source. I know how long they've worked on things. Wow. So if they're living in this ecosystem, it looks like I can monitor every aspect of the process. It's going to force you to confront your argument, so to speak, and that's the most challenging part, because it's going to force you to think about what is the takeaways, and think about that before you draft. Most of the time we draft, and we get to it at the end because we're thinking on the paper. Now you're going to think on the front end, and it's going to focus the right.
So this has been a huge success for us in our school thus far, and I'm truly impressed with where authenticity is a big concern from my humanities teachers. You have to be authentic in this process. You can't get away virtually. I haven't seen an instance yet where a student can try and use AI to create a paragraph of text, copy and paste it in there, and not get caught by the AI. So it's been transformative in terms of actually leveraging the teacher's time more effectively to deal with and work with the students who really need the help. And this is a great segue because this brings us to the concept and the idea around authenticity. And I want to tell you, so Moses and I were the only two principals invited to OpenAI's Education Forum this past October. And the primary target audience was all college provosts, professors, and presidents. So OpenAI invited higher academia to the grand opening of their New York City office. And here was Moses and I in the front row. We made sure we got the best seats in the house to hear everything. Each of us had black and blues in our ribs because we just kept on elbowing each other with all the exciting things we saw. But the thing that really captured my attention the most is that, to put it in no other better term, that all the colleges are in bed with ChatGPT. They have succumbed to the idea that kids are going to use this. This is part of a new process. We can't expel every student for using ChatGPT for academic dishonesty. We have to really rethink what this is that we're going to deal with and adapt as a tool in education. I actually invited Apple and ChatGPT after that meeting to Staten Island Tech to get a greater sense of what we can do as a team to really rethink how AI can have a place in an academic setting. So I had ChatGPT, Sam Kaplan, and David Nash from Apple join us to kind of see the different ways we've been incorporating it over the past couple of years. At this point, this is 2 years in from ChatGPT existing. We even sat down and spoke with some of the faculty and staff to get a sense of what are our worries, what are our concerns, what are our hopes. Moses and I, in a very, very slow process that's going to take time, have been asked to help them figure out what chatgpt.edu potentially looks like in the future if it passes the IRMA test along the way, where hopefully one day we'll all have access to ChatGPT for free versus having to spend the $20 per month. But I do want to just kind of reiterate that the colleges, they're already there. They had to get there, and they had to meet in the middle with these really high-tech companies because the landscape is changing, and the way in which technology and mobile is going to be a part of what we have to be consciously preparing students for in the workforce is not going away. It's only going to grow. So I want to jump ahead, and I want to make sure we have enough time to talk about this because I think this is one of the most important things that you need to think about. Right now, we're talking about education shifts and how do we make schools AI ready and adaptable. But I think we have to think deeper than that because if you're following this, we are probably months away from quantum computing and AI merging into one. And that is going to just accelerate everything that we've just seen and make what ChatGPT and current AI look like, generative AI, look like magic. Well, I don't even know what you would say or the word you'd use to describe what it's going to look like once quantum computing and AI are merged, because that's going to be a completely different thing for us to tend to. But as a rule of thumb, how do you start to rethink how your school functions and transform your school to make it AI ready and adaptable? And my common rule of thumb has always been, since I became an assistant principal in 2004, every time I bring a high-tech level of change into my school, something high-tech, I always also integrate a low or no tech equivalent for that high technology. Because let's be honest, when you bring technology into any educational environment, you're removing a skill set that no longer needs to be honed or crafted. AI gets rid of a lot of the mundane work in between the start to the finish line of working on something. So when you bring a high-tech anything to a school setting, you have to complement it with a low or no tech equivalent. So what do I mean by that? And where's the evidence of this? Well, we went one-to-one back in 2012. We were one of the first schools to buy iPads for all the students. And yes, COVID, when we had to go remote, we were ready. I thank goodness we made some of those decisions back then. But had I known that this was going to be an issue all those years later, I probably would have approached it a little bit differently. Because of all the screens and the computers and social media, there is a absolute catastrophic skills gap, soft skills gap in the workplace. All the people who I work with who serve on my CTE advisory board from the workforce development field are saying these students do not know how to communicate. They don't have social skills. It's a problem, and it's going to be a problem that grows further if we don't do something about it. And I know New York City is taking a step further and forward by banning the phones, but I don't think that's enough. I think we have to add something instead of just subtracting the phones. The latest article coming out, which kind of equates soft skills to AI, I love this. The most future-proof skill might just be your humanity. I love that. And it's so true. So what you have to do is you have to amplify human-centered skills. And when I say amplify human-centered skills, I realize that the iPhone 15, 16, 17, 18, the 19 is going to come out eventually. There's always going to be the next latest and greatest form of cellular technology. But There is no greater camera than these, no greater microphone than these, no greater speaker than this, and no greater central processing unit than your brain. And while cellular technology will evolve, we need to make sure our students remember and understand that their greatest form of any cellular technology is them and their ability to communicate and have an interpersonal connection with one another. So we have to lift that. And quite frankly, we have to teach it. So that's what we did at Staten Island Tech. 8 years ago, myself and my work-based learning coordinator, Jennifer Fitzpatrick. Jennifer was an employee of Morgan Stanley, and her job was a people polisher. Her job was to teach executives and their coworkers how to speak effectively and present effectively. And when Jen and I created this course 8 years ago, we designed it to be taught to all ninth graders. So every ninth grader has Jennifer once a week for Introduction to Talknology. And the two things we teach in that course are oracy and social skills. And really, I'm talking about soft skills, social skills. I mean, just the S in SEL, not the emotional learning, just the S, the social skills. As you can see in this video, we're teaching students how to make eye contact, how to shake a hand, how to utilize the social space to learn how to connect with one another, minus and in the absence of a screen. This has to be taught, folks. It's not being handed down from a familial standpoint, like maybe you and I experienced growing up in our families. So we co-created this course with the intent of teaching two sets of skill sets. We utilized the curriculum, the HOPE skills, which uses and preaches soft skills in the form of first impression, interpersonal, communication, presentation, and selling skills. And we married that to the oracy curriculum from Voice 21, which teaches the physical, linguistic, cognitive, and social emotional components of effective speaking. And when you marry these two together, and you can read a whole article on how we did this at Tech at your own pace if you'd like to when you revisit the slide deck. But essentially, when you marry the oracy curriculum to the soft skills curriculum, Voice 21 and HOPE, because Ms. Fitzpatrick is the work-based learning coordinator, all of our students in their first year at the end of the ninth grade have access to their first job, courtesy of Ms. Fitzpatrick. And then what essentially happens is the students get to practice these skills in class, outside of class, at home, and in a workplace setting. And it's so cool because I always know when Jennifer is at a certain point in the curriculum, because when she's teaching eye contact, handshakes, and greetings, I get the most hellos from students in the hallway, greeted by them by making eye contact, shaking my hand, and being very personable. So it's pretty rewarding and to see it happening and what transformatively takes place. We're also teaching the students the different talk tactics, what are the different roles in a conversation. And as you can imagine, this actually will enhance what happens in your classroom around discussion. And especially from a standpoint of educating the teachers on how they can reposition students when they want them to have a discussion in the classroom. So this is just as much for us at Tech, something we teach the students, especially in the ninth grade. And then I have PD days where I train the teachers on this as well, because the ninth grade teachers need to know all these neat tricks and tools that the students now understand how to utilize to be more effective speakers. And the proof that this is working, because this is connected to my work-based learning coordinator, and I do this at scale, folks. I'm so serious that this is an important skill set to learn. I have 1,420 students. 720 students annually are enrolled in work-based learning paid internships. That's 51% of our student population earning 1.5 million in income in their pocket. But more valuable than that, real-world experience, practicing these soft skills and oracy skills. That's where the true value is. So another way of teasing this application and experience out is we brought, and I don't know if you realize this, but in 2025, the way we communicate with the International Space Station, or any astronaut for that matter who travels into space, is using the most simplest and basic form of ham radio technology. We still use that in modern days to communicate back and forth. And folks, I hate to say it, but it's going to happen. At one point, our satellites are going to stop working. The power grid might be attacked and stop working. And this generation of students do not have the emergency preparedness skills to figure out how to communicate. So we're trying to change that. So at this point, this slide's a little bit outdated. 1/3 of our entire student population is certified as ham radio operators, have learned how to operate the ham radio, speak effectively using specific guidelines on the ham radio, and create and build from the ground up, from scratch, the actual ham radio antenna. Now, let me give you an example of what that sounds.
Kilo Echo 2 Echo November Tango Ryan Bell calling from Satellite Tech.
This is KE2 EBC Kilo Echo 2 Echo Bravo Charlie. My name is Drina Glum, transmitting from Staten Island Technical High School. KE2 EOQ Yusuf Mansour from Staten Island Tech. Katie Tan from Staten Island Technical High School. You are now checked in.
So as you can see in this video, so the students, this is some of the things that they have to learn how to do, the etiquette of using a ham radio, communicating clearly, understanding the technology aspect of it. But here's the kicker and the really cool aspect of it. So last summer, they were tasked with, after becoming certified, they had to build the antenna and then connect with the International Space Station. Check this out.
Line that up with the actual satellite, and then you're going to track it as we're listening, because I'm going to try to get them to transmit off of this and hit that. We need to be able to listen to this thing. So your call sign. I need to say that is the ISS right here. Right, boys, get it on. Say something.
Pretty cool, right? So my tip to you is this: the more screens in automation, you must double down on FaceTime and communication. It's basically as simple as that. Every high-tech advancement you add, you need a low-tech and a no-tech equivalent. So the other challenge with artificial intelligence that you have to think about when leveraging this in your school is that artificial intelligence, as great as it is and as speedily as it moves things along, it does short-circuit the learning process. My teaching framework and learning framework is the 5 C's, but as you can see, between the 5 C's and the brain, the limitedness and the minimization of productive struggle and constructive failure that ceases to occur the more you use artificial intelligence. So what I have done is kind of started preaching this. And we as school leaders at commencement, we're guilty of this, right? We say the journey is more valuable than the destination, but we set up schools that put so much weight on the end product when assessing. That doesn't really facilitate this idea that the journey is more important than the destination, because the kids really care about their grades at the end of that journey. So I've kind of redefined what I term PBL. Yes, it's problem, it's project-based learning, but I like to refer to it now as process-based learning and assessment. And what I mean by process-based learning and assessment, if students are incentivized by a grade at the end of the stick, if the carrot is at the end of the stick where the finished work product resides and the grade is given, then we need to move the carrot to the middle of the stick where process and learning takes place. Imagine a research paper only being worth 20% of the grade, and the 80% is really the process that the teacher observed and graded along the way. Think about that, because once you start to say and trigger students into thinking that the process is more valuable and where my grade is going to be connected to than versus the product, they're going to take learning a little bit more seriously and hopefully a lot more seriously. So once you start making the process more important, well, during the process, you make mistakes. So you have to make it okay to make mistakes. So you have to operationalize failure. So I've written extensively about this. We created what I like to call a restorative assessment process and a restorative assessment center. So what does that mean? Well, I have a center in the building, and I've encouraged my teachers to give multiple opportunities on assessments. Formative, summative, doesn't matter. So essentially, instead of a one and done approach towards assessment, it's a one and some approach. So if a student doesn't do well on a test, or maybe they were absent, or maybe they ran out of time, maybe there was a tragedy, all they have to do is ask the teacher for another opportunity. Maybe they scored like below the average score in the class, and they really feel that they could have done better. Folks, we give our teachers second and third chances. In life, you get a second and a third chance. Even a heart surgeon who loses a patient on the table gets a second chance. They keep their job. Why aren't schools set up that way? Why does assessment have to be so high stakes all the time? So the only rub here is I asked my teachers to make multiple assessments, and they said, if you can handle the proctoring, we'll do the extra assessments. Done. You got it. So I have a whole team in the Restorative Assessment Center that proctors all the extra assessments during the lunch periods and after school. And since doing this, folks, my academic dishonesty numbers have plummeted because students now see failure as an opportunity versus a final judgment or a final punishment. Think about this, because what I'm trying to do here is lift up the ability to reward students for their failure, to reward students for going through the learning process. And another way you can tease this into happening is create a makerspace. Start infusing project-based learning that encourages students to use their hands, do things that's kind of out of their comfort zone. And I've written extensively about this, which you'll have access to this article. But once you start bringing a makerspace into your workflow of what teachers have as a resource, as a high-tech, low-tech, no-tech approach to doing project-based learning, the end products and the learning start to look fantastic and robust and rich. These are moments the students will never forget. They're not going to remember the equation or the standard lesson, but these opportunities, and these are all discipline. This is math, English, social studies, science, foreign language, physical education. Teachers are coming into our makerspace and trading in traditional learning in the classroom for these unique opportunities. And I do want to touch upon, because we're going to run out of time in a moment, just a little bit of a tip. When you're doing these sorts of things, you really need to think big and think differently as you're creating project-based learning, and literally reach for the stars. What do I mean by that? Check this out. So imagine tasking your students to go upstate with their teacher, and you give them a styrofoam cooler attached to a helium balloon. And in the cooler, you put a video camera, a GPS tracker, an altimeter, a thermometer, and you have some branding, and you're about to take the ultimate selfie. And the goal is to get to low orbit outer space, which here we are. And of course, when the air pressure is this low at this height, eventually the balloon breaks and bursts, and the parachute deploys as the cooler comes crashing back down to Earth, hopefully having a very soft landing. And then eventually, after the cooler with the video footage lands on Earth, students will use the GPS tracker to track down this cooler that has all this equipment in it, tracking the altitude, the temperature, the barometer, and this priceless footage that they just took. So we actually did this a couple of years back. This is going back to 2017, and we've done this a couple of times since. But think big, think differently, and truly think about different ways that you can get students to learn, and in some cases fail. They didn't fail this time, and they could have easily failed, but the reward of being successful and working together on this particular project really paid in dividends. So as we bring this to a close, and I do want to be mindful of your time, so I just do want to remind you that the link that is in the chat is going to bring you to this document. This document does have a QR code under my picture, the fake mark, but that QR code under the fake mark has my very real phone number if you want to text me, or send me a message. You want to talk further, I wouldn't hand it out unless I was serious enough to engage in a conversation with any of you. So please feel free to use that if you want to connect after this. The link to the slide deck, I will release that at the end of this Zoom. There's a handout. This link will bring into another page. There's a link to my website, but I've written extensively about a lot of these different things, so you can have some further insight into why, how, what, when, where. Thank you immensely. Thank you for the time for today. I think we've completed the circle now. There we go. So folks, I can hang around another moment to take any questions, and certainly grateful for you spending the past 90 minutes with me. I hope there was something here that you got out of it that you could walk away with, and I'm willing to continue to connect with you. So thank you, and stay cool. You're all very, very welcome. Thank you. And folks, I will also include the video to this presentation on that sheet as well. So if there was something I said or did you wanted to see over again, you'll have access to that. All right, gang. And thank you, Jackie, for your help. Have a great summer, everybody. It's been such a pleasure.
Should I say? Not released. Hey, so sorry. I'm just wondering when you'll be releasing the slide deck.
I will be releasing the slide deck in a moment.
Should we wait or?
No, you don't have to wait. As long as you have access to that document, you will get the slide deck. I promise.
What TLE codes if you need them, and the resources from the session.
Yep, everything is in that link.
Hi, Mark. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very, very welcome.
I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
I made a little animated character out of our mascot. Now I'm trying to figure out what program to use to have him make videos with him for social stories and things like that.
Right. So interestingly enough, so Adobe has a platform. Somebody on the chat. Actually, my son showed me how to do this because
Adobe Express has the platform, but I can't upload a character.
Okay, so you have to create it. So what you can do, there are certain AI. Let me give you one here. So I used recently we had a teacher retiring. I thought it'd be really funny. The science teacher, if the teaches anatomy and physiology, if the skeleton had something special to say to her when in her
funny.
And so I had to create a character. So InVideo AI is the app. And there's a whole bunch of them, Shanna. If you do a quick search on AI video creators that can take a picture that you create. So I was impressed by, I created the skeleton, I uploaded it to the software, and I gave it the script of what I wanted it to say. And it did a really great job of animating and adding a voice to the skeleton.
So funny. Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. So InVideo AI you use?
Yeah, let me open it up and make sure that this was the one I used to do that. I can tell you right now.
I'm playing around with Google Flow right now. It's actually very cool.
Yeah, and that might do the trick. They all have the capability now when you feed it something. The best one, honestly, And it's a fortune, unfortunately. And this is where we're going to start seeing ethical issues and equity issues. Not well, ethical and equity.
Yeah.
ChatGPT, if you pay $200 a month, you can upload anything and tell it
Wow.
to recreate that thing to do anything you want it to do. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure you've seen some of the comical videos that
Yes, of like people saying things like the guy, the CEO astronomer guy,
right.
like,
So
issuing a statement.
yes. So
So funny.
so that is ChatGPT Sora, which is you have the ability if you spend the extra money
Yeah.
to upload anything and tell it what you want it to do.
Wow.
Super powerful, but I'm not ready to spend $200 a month on that.
Right. No. I mean,
And
I
you
already did the 20 with ChatGPT.
and you don't have to. And yeah, so I'm pretty sure. So in video AI is a iPhone app that I used to create. Yep, that was the one to create the talking skeleton.
So, okay, I downloaded that one. All right, so I'll try that one out.
Yeah, but, play around. Just a little bit. Yeah, a forewarning that some of these also coax you into paying extra money.
Yeah. But now that's like how many credits you have or whatever.
Yeah, they all have that feature that is
Right.
positive economics for them.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, upgrade,
Yeah.
all those things. 35 a month for this one.
Yeah, try the free thing. See if it will actually do what you want it to do first. I mean,
Right.
and especially because it's an animation versus a video, right? Some of them,
Yeah.
because you may just want to go into ChatGPT and ask it, is there an app that
Oh,
can
yeah.
take a animated character and bring it to life? And often when I use ChatGPT for scenarios like that, it will cross promote other tools or tell me exactly how to do it.
Do it. Yeah, that's great. That's such a good idea.
Definitely try that.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome, Shanna.
This is great. I'll see you soon.
Yeah. Bye-bye.